Everybody, welcome to another episode of Nerdy Knickknacks, where I show you guys how to make nerdy inspired things. In honor of Star Trek Beyond coming out this Friday, July 22nd, I decided to make a Star Trek hair bow. Also, I'm wearing my Star Trek shirt and have some Earl Grey tea and a little model of the Starship Enterprise. I am prepared for this Star Trek tutorial. This hair bow was inspired by all 3 different generations of Star Trek, the original Star Trek, the Next Generation, and the current films being directed by J.J. Abrams. Hopefully you can see what parts I drew inspiration from what generation of Star Trek. I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial and it's super informative and that it all makes sense. Because that's what we all need in life, a little bit of sense. Or a little bit of Spock. Basically, sense is Spock, so all we need is Spock in our lives. He's my favorite character, if you couldn't tell. Now without further ado, let's get right into this tutorial. To make your Star Trek hair bow, you will need a 25-inch black cord, 4-inch black cord, a 6-inch piece of blue fabric, a 4-inch piece of blue fabric, and 2 8-inch pieces of white lace. Hot glue sticks and a hot glue gun. Yellow acrylic paint, a paintbrush, X-Acto knife, a palette knife, scissors, Fimo white clay, sandpaper, hair barrette, and something circular to cut your clay out with. And last, aluminum foil and a cookie sheet. First, we're going to start off with making our sculpted Star Trek emblem as well as the 4 dots, because this will take the longest as we need to put the clay in the oven as well as let it cool. So right now I'm just taking my clay and kneading it with my hands. Once I've got it all flattened out and ready to go, I'm going to take my little, it's actually part of a makeup brush topper, but I'm using that to punch out 4 little tiny dots that I'm going to be putting on my hair barrette. The reason I'm including these 4 dots is an allude to Star Trek The Next Generation on Jean-Luc Picard's uniform. So now I have my 4 dots cut out, and now I'm just taking my second piece of clay and trying to sketch out my Star Trek emblem. Now if you need to, you can definitely print off an emblem so it's a little bit easier to cut out. However, I decided to do mine freehand. Now that I'm satisfied with my sketch, I'm going to start cutting it out with my X-Acto knife and taking away the excess clay. So here you can see I have my rough Star Trek emblem, and now I'm just taking my palette knife as well as my X-Acto knife and just kind of trimming off the excess and shaping it with both my hands and the palette knife until I am satisfied with its shape. Now I'm just using my X-Acto knife to sketch in some finer details. Now that I'm happy with my clay pieces that I want to put on my hair bow, I'm going to preheat my oven at 230 degrees Fahrenheit, line my cookie sheet with aluminum foil, put my clay pieces on it, set my timer for 22 minutes, place these little guys into the oven, and make sure you keep an eye on them as your oven times may vary. Now we can begin making our hair bow. So I'm taking my first piece of white lace. Now this is 8 inches long. I'm going to be gluing along the edge of the lace. Now the lace is a little bit trickier to figure out where the halfway point is, as when you fold it, it does not create a crease, so you're just kind of going to have to guesstimate where the middle part is. Now I'm just taking the other side and doing the exact same thing until each side is in the middle, like so. Wait for the hot glue to dry, and this will be the beginning of your hair bow. Do the exact same thing you did on your first piece of white lace onto the second one, gluing the edges into the middle. So now that that step is completed, you're going to take your white lace and fold it in half. Make sure the side that you hot glued is in the back. You're going to want to hot glue a tiny dab onto the center of the hair bow. This will be acting as a guide for the rest of the bow steps. Once the hot glue has dried, you're ready to move on to the next step. Flip the bow over so that way the ugly side is facing you. Put a dab of hot glue onto the top part of that fold and fold back the top part of your lace until it touches the hot glue and press down. Now you're going to want to do the same thing to the bottom side of your bow. You're going to want to place a dab of hot glue right underneath that fold and take your lace and fold it back until it touches that glue. And you're just going to want to hold down until the hot glue dries. Here is one completed bow. Repeat this step for the second piece of lace, and now you'll have 2 white bows. The next step is to take one of your laces and put a dab of hot glue right on the top center. Take your second bow and place the bottom center right snug onto it and press down. Now you can just floof it out until you get it how you like it. Now you have the base of your bow complete. Next, you're going to want to take your 6-inch blue fabric and hot glue the edges down so that way the fabric doesn't fray. I didn't have to do this step to the top part. As you can see, I had sewn it for a previous project, but if you have not done this, then hot glue the top part as well. Next, since we actually can make a crease in this fabric, you're going to want to fold it in half so you can make a visible crease. Hot glue the edge and fold your fabric inwards so that way it meets the halfway point. Do the same thing to the other side. I could still see some visible fraying, so I just took my scissors and cut off those little stray hairs. Now you're going to want to take your bow and fold it in half like you had previously done with the lace. This time you can see the crease. Once you've done that, you're going to want to take the pretty side and again put a dab right in the middle and hold down until the glue dries. Once the glue has dried, flip it over onto the ugly side and put a dab of hot glue onto one side of that fold that we made. And fold down your bow and press down until the glue dries. Do the same exact thing onto the other side to complete your bow. Ta-da! The next step is to take your 25-inch black cord and make 4 loops within the cord. The reason why I did the black loops is to give my bow a little bit of added dimension, as well as make the bow a little bit more similar to the Star Trek uniform, as most of the uniforms had the typical primary color as well as black. Once I'm happy with my black cord loops, I'm going to wrap the excess cord around the middle to hold the 4 loops in place and make it easier to glue onto the white bow. I'm going to floof out those loops, and once I'm happy with that, glue my black cord onto the middle of my white lace bow. Now I would recommend making the middle of your black cord less bulky compared to mine, as this made it a little more difficult to finish my bow later on. Next, I'm ready to take my blue bow and layer that on top of the black cord. I'm going to hot glue right into the middle of the bow and place it right on top. Once I'm happy with that, I'm taking my 4-inch piece of blue fabric and doing the exact same thing to try and minimize fraying. I'm going to fold the edge inside so that way the fraying doesn't show, and do that to both sides of this piece of fabric. Once the hot glue has dried, you're going to want to try and place the 4-inch fabric around your hair bow to try and figure out how you want it to be placed onto there. Once you've figured out where you wanted it, place a dab of hot glue at the very top of your lace and press to glue it down. Now take your alligator clip or hair clip, whatever you'd want to use, and make sure you hot glue this step with the ribbon so that way your hair clip does not move, but also make sure you have it open so that way you can actually use the hair clip. Press down to make sure that it adheres to the lace bow, and finish off by gluing the very end of your lace. I had a little excess, so you're going to want to take your scissors and cut off any extra fabric. Once I was happy with how that looked, I took my 4-inch piece of black cord and kind of figured out where I wanted that to be on top of the blue fabric. Took a bit of hot glue, hot glued one end of the black cord onto the blue fabric, onto the back, the ugly side. Pressed to adhere the black cord to the fabric. Wrap the black cord around and hot glue the other end of your cord onto the back of your bow. Again, I'm going to take my scissors to cut off any excess. Now that my clay pieces have had plenty of time to cool to make sure that they completely harden, I'm going to take my yellow acrylic paint as well as a paintbrush and start painting the pieces. I had to wait about an hour for the acrylic paint to dry, and now that it's dry, I'm going to try and figure out how I want to place these clay pieces onto my bow. Once I've determined where I'd like these pieces, I'm going to hot glue them on to the blue part of my hair bow. I decided to put the 4 yellow dots onto the left side of the bow, and then to mirror and balance out the hair bow, I'm taking my Star Trek emblem and hot gluing that onto the right side. Here is the completed bow up close, and here's what it looks like in my hair. I think it turned out fantabulous. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make this Star Trek hair bow. I'd be a scientist if I were in Star Trek. What would you be? Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. I hope it was fun and you guys learned how to make this hair bow. If you guys do end up making this, please tag me on Instagram or Twitter, because I would love to see your creations. If you guys like this nerdy knick-knack series, please let me know by giving this video a like or subscribing to my channel. If you guys have any future ideas for any nerdy knick-knacks, please let me know in the comment section below and I will do my best to make it happen. This mug is flamin'. Hope you guys have a splendiferous day and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys! Dad, don't eat it! No!
Edgar was trying to eat some paint. Tea. Earl Grey. Hot. I just feel like kissing like Minnie Mouse for some reason.